like to begin by saying how sorry I am about what happened to Nancy Kerrigan.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for those unexpected and notable moments from the 90s that left our mouths ajar with nothing to say.
This was a tragedy that the entire country got to watch in real time.
Number 10, Tyson bites ear.
So we go back in, then all of a sudden, you bit this ear. And I wasn't the same one?
Boxing fans expect a lot of things. They expect to see guys punch each other. They expect guys to get hurt, tired, maybe even a little bloody. But until 1997, they never expected to see one guy bite off a piece of the other guy's ear. That's exactly what happened, though, in the third round of the Evander Holyfield versus Mike Tyson fight on June 28th of that year.
Bit his ear, I can see the bite mark.
Okay. He bit his ear, he's out.
2-point deduction, the fight will go on.
Tyson, frustrated with Holyfield's headbutting, chomped off a piece of his right ear and spit it out. Later in the round, he bit the left ear. And talk about the unexpected, this moment came 7 years after Tyson had shocked the world in 1990, getting himself knocked out by the 42-1 underdog, Buster Douglas.
Oh, Dave African by Buster Douglas! Look at this! He's knocked Mike Tyson down!
Number 9, the death of Kurt Cobain.
Cobain, Love said, had grown weary of career pressures and was unhappy with Nirvana.
As a founder of the band Nirvana, a father of the grunge music scene, and one of the most important and influential voices of his generation, Kurt Cobain said a lot with his music. And yet, his death via a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head on April 5th, 1994, left us all speechless.
You can think about him as one story of rock and roll, right?
Yeah.
Of the youth that burns out way too early. We've had too many like that.
Since his passing, though, it seems like everyone has had something to say about Cobain and various conspiracy theories regarding his passing. But for that one moment, there were really no words for the shock that came with the news that the world had lost an icon. We also can't forget the shocking death of another music icon 2 years later, when Tupac Shakur was gunned down in Las Vegas.
So if there is an accomplice that helped commit this murder, they still are looking for that person.
Number 8, the death of Princess Diana.
Diana, Princess of Wales, has in fact been killed in that car accident in Paris.
There have been many shocking deaths throughout history, but few deaths shocked the entire world more than that of Princess Diana on August 31st, 1997. Diana was beloved around the globe, and the report of the Paris car crash that put her in the hospital was breaking news that evening, and pretty much all everyone was talking about for days to follow.
The world is in shock. Diana, Princess of Wales, is dead, and Britain is in mourning.
The outpouring of sadness around the world cannot truly be understood if you weren't around at that time. But the fact that 2.5 billion people watched her funeral live on television on September 6th indicates the impact of her passing.
Each time I drive through this tunnel, each time I come and I walk here, it's still quite vivid, and the memory, the image are printed in my memory.
Number 7, Ayrton Senna's crash.
There's only one word that describes Ayrton's style, and that is fast.
3 years before the car crash that took the life of Princess Diana, another car crash left people speechless, especially fans of Formula One racing. On May 1st, 1994, Ayrton Senna was leading the San Marino Grand Prix when, on lap 7, his car ran off the track and hit a concrete barrier at 131 miles per hour.
Even at racing speed, Tamburello is not a corner that you would make a mistake on. Something on the car would have to go wrong.
Senna died on the scene. The day before, another driver, Roland Ratzenberger, had crashed and died during the qualifying run. And while those accidents were shocking and tragic, Senna's death did lead Formula One to create a series of new safety protocols to better protect their drivers.
Maybe the power steering failed. Maybe it was the tire temperatures that made the car skate straight off the road. It will always be a mystery.
Number 6, OJ Simpson is found not guilty.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant Orenthal James Simpson not guilty of the crime of murder.
There are few moments in history that are so big that everyone remembers where they were when it happened. The OJ Simpson verdict is one of those moments. If we're being honest, the entire OJ case is one of those moments. From the low-speed chase in the white Bronco, watched by 95 million people, to the trial itself and the aforementioned verdict.
Are they in order?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have signed and dated those verdict forms?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
The OJ Simpson murder case took over our lives from June of 1994 until the verdict in October of 1995. It felt like everyone had an opinion about the case, the evidence, and Simpson's guilt. And 57% of the country, 150 million people, found themselves in front of a television on October 3rd, 1995 to witness the verdict live.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, not guilty.
Number 5. Bosnian War.
Chilling words from the man they called the Butcher of Bosnia, General Ratko Mladic. The snide humor masked his killer instinct.
Rather than just one moment, this is an event that left us speechless for 3 years as this horrible and brutal war raged on between 1992 and 1995 in the then region of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Moments of violence, destruction, and ethnic cleansing had the rest of the world looking on in horror.
You just can't imagine that tomorrow someone will bomb you or shoot at you.
In the end, over 60 people were convicted of war crimes, and more than 100,000 people lost their lives, with 2.2 million more finding themselves displaced. It was the most disastrous conflict Europe had experienced since the end of World War II.
Psychotherapist Selma Bacevac is a Bosnian refugee who uses her experience to help other survivors heal from the long-term trauma of the war.
Number 4. Operation Desert Storm.
You've got 4 to 6 Hellfires en route. The time of flight's about 12 seconds. And then all of a sudden they start hitting.
Operation Desert Storm was the second part of the Gulf War, which took place between 1990 and 1991. Part 1, known as Operation Desert Shield, began in August of 1990 and involved the buildup of military forces by the American-led coalition following Iraq's invasion and occupation of Kuwait.
Every war is different.
Hoorah.
Every war is the same.
Phase 2, Operation Desert Storm, was the use of all that military might, starting with massive aerial bombings on January 17, 1991. Bombing that we all watched live, every day on the news. On February 24th, the ground war began, and 100 hours later, the war was over and Kuwait was liberated.
And all the jarheads, killing and dying, they will always be me.
Number 3. Waco Siege.
The raid was unsuccessful.
And then all hell broke loose. Just bullets flying into the building, going through the wall.
On February 28, 1993, the ATF had planned on raiding the ranch in Waco, Texas that was home to the Branch Davidians' religious cult. They suspected the Davidians of stockpiling illegal weapons and planned a surprise raid to serve their search warrants.
If we come out of that compound with a bunch of innocent kids and loaded guns, it might remind Congress why they need us.
Well, through a series of events, the group was warned in advance and were armed and ready when the ATF showed up. What followed was a 51-day siege that ended on April 19th when the Davidians set the compound on fire in response to the FBI throwing in tear gas. In the end, the loss of life included 4 federal agents and 82 Branch Davidians.
For me, the culprit of Waco, even after 30 years of looking at this, is clearly David Koresh.
Number 2, Rodney King beating, LA riots.
30 years ago today, Rodney King was beaten by LAPD officers. That attack captured on video for all to see.
With the advent of smartphones, footage of black men being the victims of police brutality has become all too common. But it's been going on for a lot longer than that, and the 1990s was no exception. When video footage of Rodney King being beaten by 4 police officers hit the news, it hit us all right in the guts.
LAPD gonna have a real good time on that level 3 prison yard, you know what I'm saying?
To see him lying on the ground as the officers kicked, stomped, clubbed, and stunned him was, and still is, so hard to watch. But as speechless as that left us all, when the officers were acquitted by a jury, many black residents of Los Angeles couldn't keep quiet any longer. and for 6 days, LA was on fire, literally and metaphorically.
We're looking at you and in South Central, Linda, where you are. Are the television cameras making these people do some of these things they wouldn't otherwise be doing?
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Oklahoma City attack. On April 19, 1993, the 51-day Waco siege ended. On April 19, 1995, a truck bomb blew up the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City. That date wasn't a coincidence. Timothy McVeigh picked it because his attack was set in motion by the siege at Waco and what he saw as the government's growing control and regulations on private citizens.
Why someone would do something of this magnitude, it's unreal.
Especially when it came to guns. The bombing was, and still is, the deadliest act of domestic terrorism the United States has ever seen. And those who saw it, whether in person or on television, were no doubt left speechless in sadness.
It was the worst terrorist act in American history, and Timothy McVeigh could now be sentenced to death.
Which of these moments left you the most speechless? Let us know your thoughts on this list in the comments below.
They're cowardly, they're unspeakably shameless,